Welcome back to week 16. Crazy to think we are getting close to the end of the season. We are in the fantasy football playoffs. We got the best ball going right now. We got Saturday games. It's almost Christmas. We are ready to go with another 10 under 10 DFS Army NFL podcast where I talk about my 10 favorite GPP plays, all under 10% owned. You get 5 from DraftKings and 5 from Fanduel. So without further ado, let's get into it, because I know if you are like me, you don't have a lot of time. Maybe you're wrapping presents. Maybe your wife's making you put up Christmas lights, right? Like, I don't know what's going on, but ooh, we got my boy Cooper Rush there. You know the drill here. Similar to the great philosopher Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. My motto for DFS is first, you're last. I ain't here to min cash, right? I'm not just looking to get across the line. I want to take this thing down. Like my boy Rapid Fire XD, who took down a million golf last year. That's 2 years ago now. And if you guys followed along last week, you might have gotten pretty close, because we had our boy Aaron Rodgers, who I wasn't convinced. Like it went against my better judgment, or I went against my bias, right? If I go back here, you can see, right? Like, other side, there we go. I'm a Minnesota guy. I'm a Vikings fan. So anytime we're talking about Rodgers, it's a little bit for me, but he was in such a good spot against the Jags last week that we had to get involved, and he smashed for 30.06 points. The only issue for me was that I did not pair him up enough with Devontae Adams. I had him with Garrett Wilson. Montgomery and Gibbs, right? Monty got injured in the first half, came back in the second for like a half a drive and got out, ended up with 7.5 points. But Gibbs was the RB3 for the week, which is pretty solid. Johnson and CeeDee Lamb. This offense is starting to click a little bit in Dallas. We'll hear more about that today. Your boy Devon Vele was wide receiver 1,000 because he had 0.0 points. Bo Nix was not great last week for the Broncos. Over on FanDuel, pretty meh all around. We had Bryce Young, Tua, not great. Stevenson, fine. Jameson Williams was okay, right? Stone Smart. Somebody commented last week, all right? So one of the things that I try to remember is that, where do I got it written here? Note, ownerships are based on time of writing. I'll do my best to update throughout the week, but injuries could significantly change ownership projections, blah, 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 right? Stone Smart ended up being a chalky tight end last week, 15-ish%. Just kind of is what it is. He was a good value, right? And at the time was projecting under 10% owned. I figured he might go off a little bit, but hey, is what it is. So let's get into it here and talk about some of my favorite plays for the week. And it starts with Mac Jones. Whew, we got some doozies in this one today, guys. So just take a deep breath, buckle up. Here we go. Let's talk about some of these guys. Mac Jones is good. 20 points in 2 of his last 3 games. I don't know that he's worse than T-Law at this point. I don't know. He's gonna turn the ball over. It's what he does, but he looked good last week. He gets a prime matchup against the Raiders. 31-46, 294. I like it. I like it a lot, right? The running game's not really doing anything. Brian Thomas Jr. is the best rookie wide receiver right now, I think, over Malik Neighbors. He's gone over 20 DK point mark twice, like I said, in the last 3 games. This is a massive underprice at the 5,200. Ownership, way too low. I love stacking up him and Brian Thomas and just moving on with the rest of my lineup. I am all in on your boy Mac Jones. If you really and here's the thing, if you want to double stack this because you really think that he's going to go off, which I think you might need if you're in the Millie Maker, you put in Parker Washington. Everyone's going to stack him with Brenton Strange. I like going with the wide receiver 2 here, or going Washington and Strange, right? And not Brian Thomas, even though I love Brian Thomas. He's so good. But if you're trying to get different for the Millie, that's a stack that you want to get with. All right. Or just let the DS do your work, right? Look at this domination station build. Thanks. DFS Freak says, oopsies, I'm stopping and sharing. I ran out of whoa. Let me get back here. Sorry about that. So yeah, Devon Achane, Devon Achane, your boy from Miami, right? They had a really dud week last week. I think against the 49ers, though, they really bounced back here. Achane is a DraftKings only play for me because of the PPR. He does most of his work there. He can easily put up 20. He's got a similar ceiling. it's blasphemous to say this, but our projections agree with us that that he has a similar ceiling to Saquon Barkley this week, who's going up against the Commanders. Another running back that I really like that I think is way too cheap is Aaron Jones. The Vikings are going up against the Seahawks. They did give Cam Akers a little bit of work last week, which is fine. I'm not super concerned. We still saw Jones get 18 carries. He's continuing to get a little bit more work in the stretch here in the passing game, which I think is going to be important for them. They're bottom third rush defense, 7% owned, 6,400. Like, you gotta love that. All right, deep breath. Dyami Brown. All right, wide receiver for Washington Commanders. Since Noah Brown has gone down on injured reserve, Dyami Brown has been the wide receiver 2. He hasn't popped off yet, but he's getting some looks from Jaden Daniels. McLaurin's the guy. He caught both touchdown passes last week. I do think against a tougher defense like the Eagles, they could look to the little Dyami Brown, be a little gadgety speed guy, get him some space or get him open in space and try to let him bust one. He's cheap. It doesn't take a ton of volume for him to hit, and the rest of your lineup is really feeling good at that 3,400 price tag. You can afford some of these studs like a Saquon to run it back with if you want to do that little game stack there. And finally, I want every piece of the Cincinnati Bengals offense that I can, and Mike Gesicki is probably my favorite at 3,300. He's had 3 catches in each of the last 3 games. We've seen him blow up before. T. Higgins could be potentially out or limited this week. That only is good for him. Tight end's been a crapshoot all year. Why wouldn't you go with a guy in a high-powered offense in a good game environment against the Browns, who are not very good anymore either? The defense has been okay. Shout out to my boy Bobby Clinks every week. I'm just going to keep this in here forever because it's just one of my favorite things because he's such a good person. And for him to take down the Millie with a Daniel Jones, David Johnson, remember him? He was a stud, man. And only had 15 there. Sterling Shepard, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, right? Like, what a great lineup. Love that for my boy. Bobby, wow. He's still living off that Millie maker. And look at that. We are switching over to FanDuel, and I am right back on the A-Raj train. Don't negate, I am Mr. Quantifiable. I want to see it. I want to see stats. I want to see things like that. But do not negate the fact that Aaron Rodgers is mad about the Ryan Clark comments, and he went on Pat McAfee. And I need to be honest. I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers, so I did get the vaccination the first time around. Like, A-Raj wants me to tell you people that. Like, I get that, right? Like, so maybe I got COVID brain, but I think he's a good play this week, right? He's mad. The offense looked great last week. Obviously, Devontae Adams, right? Smash, but Garrett Wilson looked good too. I think I'm going to go with Wilson here. I love actually this Rams and Jets game to blow up for points. So yeah, I'm in on Aaron Rodgers this week. We'll see. We'll see again. It's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. Like I said, as a Minnesota born and bred, bleed purple and gold, it's hard to say Rodgers is a good play this week, but I do like money. So I think that he's in. Another guy that's been looking a little bit better lately, Cooper Rush, man. We get him some looks. Right? He's looked pretty decent. He gets the Bucks, been in shootouts all year. 3 TDs last week. Would have gone over 20 FD if he didn't fumble twice, right? It's interesting. I think Cooper Rush at 7K, 2%, could he put up a 25 spot? Absolutely, right? Like, my cheap widers or QBs on FanDuel that I'm going to be rolling out this week are Raj and Cooper Rush, they are miles apart in terms of pedigree, but I think both can get you to that 25, 30 fantasy point range that helps you take down a GPP. You stack them up with Lamb, who's the guy, right? And then if you want to fit in a bunch of studs, you roll down here and play Craig Reynolds, all right? David Montgomery out on IR, knee injury. Reynolds is probably the cheapest running back that I've ever touted, I guess, on FanDuel at 4,200, 2% owned. Maybe he becomes chalky this week. I don't know, but I think that he's going to get work. Is he going to get the full Monty load? No, probably not, right? But I can see that 8 to 10 carries, a little bit of work in passing game. They love Craig Reynolds in Detroit. The linemen love him. They've talked about him in the past a ton, right? They're going to want to get Craig Reynolds a touchdown in this game against the Bears, who are not good. Sorry, Bobby. We saw the Vikings be able to run all over him last week with Cam Akers and Aaron Jones, right? He's mega cheap. They're heavy favorites. We could see him get more work in the second. There's no downside for me in Cooper Reynolds, Craig Reynolds this week. I love him on FanDuel. And this is a number, right? We are filming this on Thursday afternoon. This is a number that could really jump up on the weekend, right? So just be careful, but I think at 4,200, you got to play him, right? You got to play him. Cooper Kupp, like I said, I love that Jets and Rams game. He's a monster. Mac Jones actually crushed the Jags last week, or led the Jags last week to a good game with the Jets, right? Got put up a ton of points. Last week's dud by the entire Rams offense might keep, the ownership a little bit down here, 12-6, but I think that this game could go off and we get leverage on Puka Nacua, right? Puka's a stud, right? But Cooper Kupp's obviously no slouch. He's almost an MVP candidate a couple years ago. Like, he's been doing pretty well this year. Obviously a 0 last week in that weird game, but I don't think that Puka should be 4 times the ownership of Cooper Kupp, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I think we get some leverage here, as long with a little bit of salary savings off the number 1 guy. Kupp operating out of the slot, I think, is going to wreak havoc on this Jets defense. Could rack up a bunch of catches, and if we find the end zone, he's looking like a stud play. Finally, I love the hammer game, and I'm going with Jalen McMillan here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've seen them throw the ball an absolute ton. He's a speedster. 3 touchdowns, 13 targets, and 9 receptions over the last 2 weeks since he's gotten a big time role in this offense. Like, this Dallas defense is very mediocre just in general. I think that this game blows up a little bit. Like I said, I like Cooper Rush. I think that both sides of this game are interesting. You can play Baker Mayfield too. I don't think that he's going to end up super high owned on FanDuel. We tend to see that Sunday night game go a little bit under owned at times over there. So I like Jalen McMillan from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2% owned, 5,800 on DraftKings. So, my friends, that is what I've got for you this week. Please hit like and subscribe if you like this content. If you don't, leave a comment like my boy last week who just said, oh man, I was going to play Monty and Gibbs together. You said it, I'm not. Dude, more power to you. When you comment, that just gets the algorithm going, gets people out there. I appreciate you. All love. Have a great week 16, everybody. We will chat next week. Big money. Let's go.